The story begins with the main character, Sophia, sitting in her living room, staring blankly at the obituary of her late husband, James. The suddenness of his passing left her in shock, unable to truly grasp the reality of what happened. James had been healthy, or so she thought, but a heart attack had taken him away without warning. The scene shifts to the funeral, where Sophia feels disconnected from the world around her. She's surrounded by well-meaning friends and family, but all she can feel is the heavy weight of loneliness pressing down on her chest. James was her anchor, her confidant, and now he's gone, leaving a void she doesn't know how to fill. As the days pass, Sophia attempts to get back to normalcy. Her routine, once filled with shared meals and laughter with James, now feels hollow. She decides it's time to return to their home, hoping that being there will bring some sense of comfort or familiarity. But as she arrives at their front door, she's met with an unexpected sight. Her in-laws, James's parents, standing outside, looking as if they are preparing to move into the house. Sophia's heart races as she approaches them. She greets them, but there's an unsettling silence between them. The air feels heavy, and it's clear that something is off. Her mother-in-law, Eleanor, coldly tells her, "We're just making sure everything is in order. James would have wanted us to help." Sophia is confused. She's certain that James would have wanted her to stay in the house, but she can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. Sophia tries to enter, but her father-in-law, Richard, stops her saying, "We'll handle things from here. You should take some time for yourself." He gives her a forced smile, but the look in his eyes is one of dominance rather than compassion. A wave of panic washes over Sophia as she realizes she's being locked out of the life she shared with James. The house, the only place where she felt connected to him, is now being claimed by his family. This moment marks the beginning of her battle for control and a confrontation with the people she once thought of as family. Sophia feels lost, betrayed, and unsure of what to do next. This isn't just about the house. It's about her place in a family that she now feels is determined to erase her existence. The chapter ends with Sophia standing at the doorstep, watching her in-laws carry boxes inside her future in this home slipping further from her grasp. The next morning, Sophia arrives at the house again, determined to understand what's happening. The heavy knot in her stomach tightens as she notices more of James's things being carried out of the house. It's as if his life is being dismantled right before her eyes, and she has no say in any of it. When she steps onto the porch, her mother-in-law, Eleanor, sees her and forces a tight smile. "Sophia, we've been cleaning out some of the old things, making the house more manageable," she says, avoiding Sophia's gaze. Sophia's patience is running thin. "What do you mean, cleaning out things? This is still my house. Why are you here?" Her voice shakes with frustration, but she refuses to back down. She's not going to let them take this from her, too. Richard appears in the doorway, his face as stern and unyielding as ever. "We're just making sure everything's in order. We're helping you out." His tone suggests finality, like this conversation is over before it's even begun. But Sophia isn't ready to give up. "I'm the one who's been here with James all these years. I have every right to be in this house," she replies firmly, feeling the anger rise within her. "You can't just take it away from me." Her brother-in-law, Mark, steps forward, a little more sympathetic but still unwavering. "Sophia, I get that you're upset, but the fact is, James left everything to us. We're just following through on his wishes. This is what he wanted." Sophia's heart drops at those words. What he wanted. She suddenly feels as though the ground beneath her is crumbling, her entire world shifting. James wouldn't have left her out in the cold like this, would he? She tries to recall any conversations they had about their future, about what would happen after his death. But there's nothing. The grief of losing him is amplified by this betrayal, and a mixture of confusion, anger, and hurt surges through her. She wasn't prepared for this. She had thought her life with James was something built together, but now it feels as if it was only his family's to control. "What are you talking about, Mark?" she demands, her voice breaking slightly. "Where's his will? I should have been informed about all of this. Why wasn't I included?" Mark's expression falters for a moment, but Eleanor quickly interjects, cutting him off. "The will is being handled. We'll send you the documents soon, but in the meantime, it's better for everyone if you step aside and let us take care of things." Sophia feels like she's drowning. Her mother-in-law's dismissive attitude, her father-in-law's coldness, and the indifferent way they're treating her like an outsider, it's all too much. She steps back from the door, fighting the tears that threaten to fall. Her own family is taking away her home. As she turns to leave, Eleanor calls after her, "We'll handle the funeral arrangements, Sophia. You should rest and focus on taking care of yourself." That line stings deeply. Take care of herself. She can't understand why, after everything, they're treating her like an outsider. She was married to James for over a decade. She gave up her career to be with him, to support him, and now his family is taking control of everything, including the house she thought she had a right to. Sophia retreats to her car, her mind spinning with confusion and anger. She doesn't know what to do next. Do they have legal claim to the house? Did James have a secret will? Was she really out of the picture, or was this just another power play from his family? Before she can fully digest what just happened, she receives a text. It's from her lawyer, a woman who had helped her with a few things in the past, but never anything as serious as this. The message reads, "Sophia, I just received a copy of James's will. I'll need to speak with you about some things. Please call me as soon as you can." Sophia's heart races again. What did the will say? Did James leave her anything at all? Was this really the family's doing, or was something deeper at play? She drives to her lawyer's office, hoping for answers, but also afraid of what she might learn. Sophia's hands tremble as she sits in the lawyer's office, waiting for her turn to speak. The tension in the air is thick. Her mind is racing with all the possible outcomes. Did James leave her the house? Was the will altered? What did her in-laws know that she didn't? Finally, her lawyer, Margaret, calls her into her office. Margaret's face is solemn, her demeanor calm but concerned. "Sophia, I've gone through James's will, and I need to talk to you about what I've found." Sophia sits down across from her, her chest tight with anticipation. "What does it say? What did James leave me?" Margaret flips through the papers, her fingers lightly grazing the top of the legal document. "Well, there's a provision in the will that's going to change everything you thought you knew. James left everything to you. Everything, including the house." Sophia's breath catches in her throat. Her heart leaps in her chest, but then a thought lingers in the back of her mind. Why are her in-laws still insisting they have control over the house? Margaret continues, "The thing is, there's a codicil attached to the will that complicates matters. James made some amendments to it a few years ago that weren't properly witnessed. It's unclear if those changes were legally binding, and that's where the problem lies." Sophia's world tilts. "What do you mean? If he left everything to me, why are my in-laws acting like they own the place?" Margaret sighs deeply. It appears that James's family has been aware of these amendments, but they've kept them hidden. The will was never filed with the court, and instead, it seems his family has been holding on to this amended version for a while. They could be using the uncertainty of the codicil to claim ownership of the property. Sophia's head spins. The idea that James's family might have manipulated the situation is almost too much to bear. Was her husband's family scheming behind her back this entire time? Why didn't James tell her about any of this? Margaret notices Sophia's distress and tries to reassure her. "We'll have to contest the will if we want to get this all sorted out. It's going to take time, but you have a strong case. James's intent was clear. He left everything to you." But Sophia isn't sure if she can trust that. What if Margaret's wrong? What if her in-laws have already found a way to bypass the law? The reality of what her in-laws might do is starting to sink in. They were already moving their things into the house. What if they have legal documents that could overrule everything? Sophia can feel a cold pit growing in her stomach. The house, the memories she shared with James, the life she had been building, it's all being ripped from her hands, and now it feels as though her in-laws are deliberately trying to erase her from her own home. "Do you think they're doing this intentionally?" Sophia asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Margaret gives her a sympathetic look. "From what I've seen so far, it seems like they might be taking advantage of the situation, trying to leverage the uncertainty of the will to their benefit. But I can't say for sure without more information." Sophia rubs her forehead, trying to steady her racing thoughts. Had James been hiding things from her? Had his family been waiting for a moment like this to strike? After a long silence, Margaret adds, "We'll need to get a court to authenticate the will and determine its validity. It could take a while, but we're not giving up on this." Sophia feels a faint glimmer of hope, but it's quickly overshadowed by the weight of what's at stake. How much more can she lose before she finally has the truth? The chapter ends with Sophia, still reeling from the revelations, leaving Margaret's office. The knowledge that her in-laws might have been pulling the strings behind her back stings deeply. She's been blindsided by the very people she once considered family, and now, she's faced with a legal battle that will determine the future of the only home she's ever known. As she steps into the street, she notices her car in the distance, parked in front of the house. Is this the end of her fight, or just the beginning? The days that follow are filled with confusion and frustration. Sophia's mind is consumed by the legal battle ahead. Each time she drives past the house, she feels a deep ache in her chest. It's no longer the warm, welcoming place she once called home. It's now a battlefield, a place where her memories with James are being systematically erased by his family. She spends hours at Margaret's office, trying to piece together the puzzle. The will's codicil remains a mystery. No one knows exactly what it contains, only that James had made amendments a few years ago, and his family had kept those changes from her. The idea that James might have intentionally left her in the dark about such important matters weighs heavily on her. Sophia spends sleepless nights, agonizing over every moment she shared with James. Had he really kept secrets from her? Did he truly want her to be left out of the house and his estate? The thought of losing everything, the home, her connection to James, her sense of security, fills her with a sense of dread that she can't shake. Meanwhile, her in-laws continue to assert control. They've moved most of their belongings into the house and have even started making decisions about selling it. Eleanor and Richard make occasional appearances at the house, now treating it like it's theirs. Each time Sophia confronts them, they coldly remind her that the matter is in the hands of the court. The once warm and loving family she thought she had is now nothing more than a group of strangers trying to rob her of everything she's built. Sophia knows she can't let them take control without a fight, but she's starting to feel overwhelmed by the weight of it all. She has no choice but to move forward, no matter how difficult it becomes. One day, as she's going through her husband's old belongings, she stumbles upon something unexpected. A letter tucked away in a drawer. It's addressed to her in James's handwriting. Her heart skips a beat as she carefully opens it, hoping for some sort of explanation or comfort. The letter reads, "Sophia, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I don't know how to make things right between us, but I want you to know that I never intended to hurt you. The changes I made to my will were for your protection, and I hope you'll understand why I had to do it. You were my world, and I loved you with everything I had. Don't let them take everything from you. Fight for what's yours. You deserve it." Sophia's hands tremble as she reads the letter over and over. James's words don't quite make sense. Protection? What did he mean by that? Why would he have felt the need to make changes to his will, and why would he hide it from her? The emotions she's feeling are a mix of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. With the letter in her hand, she rushes to Margaret's office, desperate for answers. "I found something," she says, handing the letter to her lawyer. "James left me this letter. He says the changes were for my protection, but I don't understand. What does he mean by that?" Margaret reads the letter carefully, her expression thoughtful. "This changes everything," she says, looking up at Sophia. "It confirms that James intended for you to have everything, but there's more here. If he felt the need to protect you in some way, it could mean that his family has been trying to get control for a long time. It's possible that he made these changes to safeguard you from them, especially if he was worried about what they might do after his death." Sophia's mind races. If James made these changes to protect her, then why didn't he tell her? Why wasn't she in on this decision? Margaret continues, "This letter could be key to proving James's intent. We need to get this letter authenticated and presented in court. It could be the evidence we need to show that James's true wishes were to protect you, not his family." Sophia nods, though a sense of unease settles in her chest. The thought of exposing her late husband's secrets to the world feels like a betrayal, but she knows she has no choice. She has to fight, not just for the house, but for the life she shared with James. The battle ahead is long, and Sophia knows it won't be easy. Her in-laws are not going to give up without a fight. They have money, influence, and a long history of controlling everything in James's life. But she's determined to stand her ground, to fight for the love they shared, and to protect the life they built together. The chapter ends with Sophia staring at the letter in her hand, a mix of determination and fear in her heart. This is just the beginning. She knows the road ahead will be filled with challenges, but she refuses to let her in-laws take everything from her without a fight. As she leaves the lawyer's office, the weight of what she's about to face is heavy, but she has something now, something her in-laws can't take away. The truth. The court case begins, and Sophia braces herself for the legal battle of a lifetime. The days are long and exhausting, each one filled with tense meetings with her lawyer, hours spent reviewing documents, and the mounting stress of confronting her in-laws in front of a judge. The once simple life she had with James has turned into a nightmare, one she never could have imagined in her worst dreams. Her in-laws are relentless. Eleanor and Richard sit in the courtroom with their lawyer, their faces cold and determined, as if they're on a mission to strip away everything Sophia holds dear. They've even started painting her as an outsider, someone who didn't have James's best interests at heart, someone who was always too independent and too focused on herself. It's a cruel attempt to discredit her and diminish her role in James's life. As the trial continues, Sophia watches in disbelief as her in-laws twist the truth, attempting to manipulate the narrative to fit their agenda. They argue that the changes James made to the will were part of some grand plan, one that only they understood. They claim that Sophia never truly cared for James, that she was more concerned with her own life than their family's legacy. It's a sharp contrast to the love and devotion she knows she gave to him, and it cuts deep. But Sophia's lawyer, Margaret, is sharp and methodical. She counters every accusation, every attempt to undermine Sophia. She presents the letter James left behind, explaining how it was his last testament of love and protection for Sophia. The letter, though heartfelt, isn't enough to win the case outright, but it does serve as a clear indicator of his intent. James wanted Sophia to have everything, to be protected from the very people who are now trying to take it all away. The court proceedings drag on, and the emotional toll on Sophia is immense. The memories of her time with James, those quiet moments, the laughter, the love they shared, seem to fade with each passing day in the courtroom. The place that was once a sanctuary for her has now become a battleground, and she can't help but feel the weight of his absence more than ever. One evening, as she sits alone in her car, staring at the house from a distance, a wave of sadness crashes over her. The house that was supposed to be their home, the place where they had planned to grow old together, is now a symbol of everything she's lost. Is it worth fighting for? She wonders. Is it worth the pain, the heartache, and the constant reminders of what she's lost? But just as the doubt threatens to overtake her, she remembers James's words from the letter. Don't let them take everything from you. Fight for what's yours. You deserve it. The simple yet powerful message ignites something inside her. She can't give up. For herself, for James, and for the life they had dreamed of together, she has to keep fighting. The following day in court, the judge calls for a final hearing. It's time for the closing arguments. Margaret stands up, addressing the court with a quiet but unwavering confidence. She speaks of James's love for Sophia, the life they built together, and the protection he wanted for her. She tells the judge that the will, despite its complications, was clear in its intent. James wanted Sophia to have everything. No one, not even his family, could change that. Sophia watches her lawyer, her heart pounding in her chest. This is it, the moment that will determine the rest of her life. The judge listens attentively, taking in every word. Then, after what feels like an eternity, the judge speaks. The will is clear, he says. James's wishes, though complicated, were made with his wife's best interests at heart. I find that the amendments made to the will are valid, and Sophia is entitled to the estate, including the house. The words hit Sophia like a wave of relief. For a moment, she can hardly believe what she's hearing. She's won. The house is hers, and with it, the life she and James had planned for. Her in-laws stare at her with a mixture of disbelief and fury, but she doesn't care. This is her victory. The judge's decision isn't just a legal victory, it's a reclaiming of everything she thought she had lost. It's a testament to the love she and James shared, and a reminder that, no matter what, she still has the strength to stand up for herself. As she walks out of the courtroom, her heart lighter than it's been in weeks, she feels a sense of peace beginning to settle over her. The house, the memories, and everything that James left behind are now hers to protect. And for the first time since his death, Sophia feels as though she can finally breathe again. But as she walks out of the courthouse, her phone buzzes with a new message. It's from her mother-in-law, Eleanor. You may have won the house, Sophia, but I still have your family. Don't think this is over. Sophia pauses, her hand gripping the phone tightly. She knows this battle isn't truly over, that the tension with her in-laws may never fully subside. But for now, she's won. She's reclaimed what's rightfully hers, and she won't let anyone take that from her again. With renewed strength and a sense of resolve, Sophia steps into her car and drives back to the house. It's time to move forward, to rebuild the life she and James were meant to have, and to prove that no matter what, she is stronger than anything her in-laws can throw at her.